Hello.
Hey, hey, it's Jim
How are
and
you?
Kath.
Yeah, and my cat.
Hello, what's that? What's
Her
the
name
cat's
is
name?
Funny Face.
Funny
Funny Face.
face.
Yeah, after the movie.
Oh, hey, sweetheart. I have a
Yeah.
golden retriever in the house. Hopefully, he won't be making an appearance because he has at while doing very formal interviews, just boom.
Yeah. They're the best, aren't they?
Oh, I love it. And mate, I see you're still in your sling. What did you do to yourself?
I fell off the stairs after the last show, so I missed a step trying to load out, and yeah, I was just trying to help the guitar tech get the stuff off so we could go to the after party, and instead I ended up at the emergency room. So
Oh, fun.
yeah,
What's the recovery for that like? How long have you?
like 12 weeks, they say. 12. So hopefully I'll be out of the sling soon. And then it takes, I guess, takes a while for it to just fuse back. So I'll have, a bump where it's broken, and we'll go from there. But yeah,
Oh,
should be back in a few months and in time for Australia. So
tell you what, it's a good thing you don't, carry a guitar on your shoulder for a living.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's amazing that it happened after the last show. We don't have another show until Australia in May. So somehow, luckily, I didn't miss any gigs, which
You
is would be rough. So
you did well, yeah. Now whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm at home. I'm in El Paso, in Texas.
All right, you still in Pasay? Yeah. What are the good job. Um, mate, what are people's biggest misconceptions about Texas?
I think that we live in West Texas, which is pretty different than the rest of Texas. And Texas is huge. It's the size of France. So to sort of assume that it's all one thing, I think is the biggest misconception. I think it's all big cowboy hats and belt buckles and trucks and guns and all that. And there is that for sure. But there's also a lot of other stuff. It's one of the biggest Asian communities in America is in Houston. Tons of immigrants, tons of great people, tons of culture, and we've put great music into the world and great sport and great people. So yeah, I think the biggest misconception is kind of that we're a one-trick pony, right? It's not that way.
Yeah, I must admit, from an Australian's point of view, it's been very, very strange having not actually been there. But, over the last decade or so, watching, because Texas has a reputation for being a red state, so it's,
It
and,
is. It is
in
a
the
red
last,
state for sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, hearing that, it's actually not near, the whole, yeah, parts of it are not nearly as conservative as one might think. Yeah. Um, Mate, what are so look, take me back to this tour is obviously touring Wiretap Scars. Take me back to 2002. What was your life like at the time?
Oof. One of the things I keep saying when I do these interviews is this is for me a bit of a victory lap, because I think I was trying pretty hard to destroy myself at that time period. I mean, it's common, right? Rock and roll and all the excess and all the mental stress and the mental health is not something that we really talked about back then or even cared about or thought about, and it kind of took sort of falling apart at some point in order to kind of address that stuff. But 2002 was like trial by fire, like learning on the job. I obviously had been a guitar player in a band for a long time and sang backups, but I'd never been um, the front man, and that's a job, and it's a role that you got to learn how to do. And part of doing this tour that's great is that I'm really good at it now. So it feels good to kind of revisit this record and with a little bit more confidence and skill, I think. And the emotion's always been the same, and the commitment to music has always been the same. But obviously, you get 20 years better if you've been doing it for a long time. So, but I would say, back then, 2002 was it was kind of it was pretty it was either pretty great or pretty glum for me. It was like the bad days were bad and the great days were great, and it was still just kind of exploring all this stuff and learning. And I've had a pretty weird career, and it was definitely a big chapter of that. Like it's been a wild ride, and I'm grateful for all of it for sure. But yeah, I would say it was learning on the job is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Now, I saw Limp Bizkit 2 nights ago. I'm in Brisbane, and it reminded me of seeing footage about the drive-in at the infamous Sydney 2001 Big Day Out. You guys
Yeah,
walked off set,
we
uh,
did
off stage. What do you remember about that day? And was it strange?
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember everything about that day. It's one of those days you never forget. It was a life-changing day. It was, um, that frustration for us had been building as the band was getting bigger. And, we played next to a very aggressive band, and that band, as kind as it was for them to direct their fans to see us, and I know it was out of respect and admiration, it wasn't out of spite or anything. Um, we got a bunch of people that didn't know what we were about, and they came in swinging, basically. And it was like watching your fan base just get beat up and be the
Mm.
soundtrack to it. And that's not something that any of us wanted or felt good about. So, Cedric warned several times that this is what was going to happen, and that's what happened. And I never felt, all of us had his back 100%. All of us were frustrated. All of us, on stage, you see everything, right? So we were watching literally every punch, every whatever, like just the stupid shit that people do because they think that's what they can do during aggressive music. And that's not what we were about. And we got just dressed down in the dressing room. We were told by the organizers that it was all our fault for not having a light show because we didn't use lights. We just said turn the lights on. It's also in the daytime. So
Mm.
just sort of this thing. It was like just this meltdown that they had, and they were fucking screaming at us. And we're kids in a band, and we were doing what we thought was right. And they, honestly, we told them like, you can fucking kick us off, right? Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to be the soundtrack to this. It's not going to happen. And then, unfortunately, the tragedy happened that night during Limp Bizkit, who, as far as I know, has never even really addressed it.
Oh
Certainly
no,
didn't
no,
do it
no.
then.
I let me just jump in there and now
Okay, yeah,
they
please do. Yeah,
yeah, no. So, okay. So obviously they did not return for 10 years. There was a coronial inquest and, things were very serious. Her name was Jessica
yeah.
McCaleb, poor girl. Now, they returned to Australia in the 2012 Soundwave Festival, and this was actually really sweet. They stopped the show. They full on addressed it, and talked about how basically they were like, "We're not going on stage. This isn't safe." And the organizers said, "You're fucking going on stage, or there's going to be a riot." And then they turn around and drop a banner, and it is a giant pink banner with Jessica's name written on
Oh,
it,
good for
and
them.
actually dedicated to her. So yeah, man, they
Good, good.
just wanted to add that because I
No, no, no.
actually
I appreciate it. I need to know that because I always have had a pretty ill feeling about that day.
mm,
And that's really good to know. So, and then but the end story is that I guess the next show is probably Melbourne on that tour, and we were fully, we had a moment of silence. A lot of people had a moment of silence that night, and to their credit, the festival organizers came and apologized. We had a long conversation about it. It was all good, and I'm glad to know now. That's nice to hear that those guys did that because it was an awful, anybody who's at anything that something like that happens, and it is unfortunately part of life. Mistakes happen, accidents happen, terrible things happen, and if you live through it, you got to figure out how to talk about it and understand it and deal with it, so it's not just kind of this shit that you carry forever. So I'm really glad to hear that, man.
yeah,
But yeah, anyways, that was I remember everything about that day. I
yeah,
remember
but
walking. The dressing room was really far from the stage that day. And I remember everybody else was like in golf carts going back to the dressing room. And I was like, nope, I walked. And when I walked from the stage to the dressing room, I had already decided what I was going to major in college because I thought that was it. I thought we were done. I literally thought that was the last show I would ever play. And I was like, well, I guess I'll go back to college. I guess I'll be doing this. It's just where
wow,
your brain goes to in that sort of moment of stress.
yeah, and would you believe that? Yeah, 2 years later, you'd be returning with Sparta
Yeah.
and these fellas. Um,
Yeah, those guys. My
hmm.
buds. Yeah.
What was it like returning there with Sparta?
Again, this is one of those things where that's like all of a sudden playing the biggest shows kind of my life, playing main stage, I think, or at least one of the biggest. I don't remember which stage we were on. I just remember I want to say maybe the Brisbane show. just so many people, and kind of like trying to make sure that I could do this, because it's so intimidating. And, you have a couple of drinks and then you get up and you do your job. But it was, yeah, it's wild. The difference between being a side man and a front man is vastly different.
Yeah.
And kind of learning that lesson. And now I still, it's funny because I still consider myself a side man. That's sort of my favorite job in the world, is to be just a guitar player singing backups. And I don't even consider myself the front man of this band. But, you know, as my friend pointed out the other day, you've been doing it 20 years. You may want to just sort of admit that this is what's happening.
And I just a bit of background on me first to set up this question. I'm actually a recovering alcoholic. I'm over 5 years sober, and so the concept.
Congratulations.
Thank you, mate. The Where I'm going with this is the cut your ribbon video.
Mhm.
The video for that is pure nightmare fuel. Who
Yeah.
came up with the concept for
Sophie did, the director. I believe she came and pitched the idea, and it's sort of been, to her, the song was a guilty conscience song. And I think one thing is I write pretty vague lyrics on purpose. I don't try, and I rarely correct people if they say, "Oh, this is what it means to me." Like, of course, that's what it means to you. Then that's what it means to you. And it's kind of, everybody has their own take on it. I definitely have my version of what that song is about because I wrote it from my point of view. But I love when other people take what I write and then have, they put their own creative energy into it, whether it's a fan or Sophie making the video. It was really fun. It's, again, like trial by fire. I'd never made a video where you have to like lip sync or act or whatever. Like, all of that shit was was all new to me, and it's so hard. It's so much harder than people think. It's so unnatural for me. And there's a part where I have to like walk up to him and put my hand on it, and I was just a wreck trying to get trying to get through. And he's a professional actor. He's just like so annoyed with me, and just trying to like be a good dude, but obviously like I'm fucking it up every single time, like every single time. But yeah,
it?
it's you know, live and learn, and those experiences are awesome. And I try not to shy away from that stuff, but I try to embrace it and learn from it. And that's kind of how you gotta tackle those fears and get in there and just try and do it.
It's it remains my favorite song of yours too. It literally has been the start of my running playlist for about 10 years, just because it's just a great way to get you. All right,
Yeah.
we're starting. What do you got? All right, fuck, here we go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, when at the drive-in reformed, I understand that you elected not to be part of that. It is looking for what now, please, that is Wikipedia info. So if I am wrong, please.
Are you talking about 2016?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I got fired. I got kicked out.
Ah, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, no, it's okay. I mean, I'm not. Here's the thing. Like, when that happened, obviously it was a gut check, and it was definitely hard because you're not just losing, a job and income, but also I started that band when I was 17. I love that band. I would never want to hurt that band. I would never want to do anything that made that band not what it is, because I love it. But also I'm an alpha. There's a bunch of alphas in that band, and we all have opinions. And um, I definitely believe in living and dying by the sword. And I love being a part of a band, but sometimes you're not welcome. And that's just the way it is. And when that happened, and I started to sort of talk about it with my friends and kind of figure out how I felt about it, all of a sudden they were like, "Hey, that job I used to have? Well, I actually got fired. I never wanted to tell anybody because I felt so much shame." And I started learning from these conversations how much shame people carry with them for being
Mm,
fired for something that's not even your choice, right? So I made it a real point early on to talk about it honestly and transparently, and I don't hold any ill will towards anybody. At the end of the day, in the grand scheme of life and earth, being in a band is great, but it's just being in a band. It's not
mm.
that big a deal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to kill myself over it. I'm not going to like lose my fucking shit over it. I'm not going to like wish people harm over it. It's a band. It's a gig, and it's great and it's fun, and I will always love that band. I carry my own opinions. Like, I think it should be left where it was. That's my opinion. And when it came to like talking about stuff, I was the odd man out. So it is what it is. And I know a lot of people thought it was about money or it was about something, power or whatever. It's not. Like, that relationship's very intimate, and if it doesn't fit and people aren't comfortable with it, then changes are made, and that's just the way it is. And I've been on both ends of it, and it sucks on both ends, to be honest. I hate kicking people out, and it's not fun getting kicked out either, but it is part of the job. So
I did an interview with Paige Hamilton from Helmet, and he described, because obviously he's worked with a lot of people over the years,
yeah.
and he had an encounter with, an awkward encounter with a former bandmate from Helmet in an airport, and he described the working relationship and when that breaks down as like a divorce, because it's like a marriage.
Easy.
You're together for so long.
And you're not just divorcing one person, you're divorcing three or four or five in management and crew and fans, and it's tough, and it can be awkward. And like, look, I've been through so much in my life with people in bands, and it's like a roller coaster, and some days it's good and some days it's not, and some days you talk and some days you don't. And I choose to try to enjoy life as I'm living it, and not put too much into that other stuff. It'll kill you, you know what I mean? If you let it, it'll eat away at you. And I choose to not let that happen.
Absolutely. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tom, this has been a great interview, but seriously, when are you going to put a silly hat on? Well, I'm going to do that now. What are your plans for Christmas, Tim?
It looks like it's going to be recovery for me. Just a little bit of probably, hopefully, start physical therapy and get moving back to, like, I'm meant to be making a record right now. So honestly, it would be nice if I got to play guitar. So as soon as I can get a guitar on and my right arm works, then I'll be making a record. In the meantime, I'm not a super big holiday person. Like, I enjoy the season, but again, like, my favorite part is just kind of the social, like seeing people coming in town and friends and family and all that stuff, and trying to enjoy being home a lot. I'm gone quite a bit
Hmm.
over the last 30 years, so it's nice to kind of be home and hang out and do all that stuff.
So you're going to be asking Santa for a new collarbone?
Yeah. I'm just gonna ask for this one to work. That's all I want. Yeah.
Awesome. Jim, this has been really good, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I will be seeing you in Brisbane next year. So
All right. Well, come say hi. I'll be around. Thank you, man.
no worries, man. Have a great day.
We'll see you.